Welcome back to the deep dive. This is where we take, really complex source material.
And we boil it down.
Exactly, into the essential knowledge you need and fast. And I've been thinking about this. It seems like in almost every field now, whether you're looking at policy, tech strategy, even history,
Oh, absolutely.
we just have access to so much information. We have all the articles, the data feeds, the maps.
But the answers are scarce.
Right. The actual path forward is completely obscured by the sheer volume of it all.
It's the difference between just having overwhelming data and having, meaningful insight. When you are faced with these multifaceted, high-stakes challenges, simply compiling facts it's never enough. You need a system.
A blueprint.
A robust blueprint for thinking critically and for solving problems when, frankly, ambiguity is the default setting. And our source material today is brilliant because it provides exactly that.
It's this analytical framework.
Yes, originally designed for an Alaska Studies curriculum, but it acts as a masterclass in intellectual rigor for any complex situation you might encounter.
Okay, so let's unpack this blueprint. I think our goal here is to distill this whole framework. The 3 core performance tasks, the 6-step problem-solving guide.
And the assessment criteria, which are key.
Right, into actionable steps. This is about moving you beyond learning what to know and really into structuring how you think about uncertainty.
Yeah, our mission is to give you a transferable process you can apply to, the most difficult subject on your plate right now.
So where do we start? With the lenses.
Let's start with the lenses. Before you can solve a problem, you have to organize your inquiry. The curriculum uses 3 foundational approaches, or what it calls performance tasks, to explore the relationship between land and people.
And these are basically templates for analysis.
Exactly. 3 pillars, and you can apply them to almost anything.
So the first pillar is the place, identity, and belonging study. This really defines the context.
It does. The core idea is simple. Recognizing that the land itself shapes the identity, the values, and the sense of belonging for the people who live there.
It's foundational.
Absolutely. And to do this task right, the sources require specific inputs. You have to describe the physical geography. You need to provide deep cultural and historical context.
And integrate stories, right, like place-based narratives or traditions.
Yes, and only then can you actually start to analyze that dynamic relationship between the land and the culture.
Okay, that sounds great in theory, but I can already hear the skeptic asking, how do you keep that rigorous? How do you stop it from just becoming, a romanticized travelogue?
That's where the rigor comes in. The framework explicitly warns you against that exact pitfall romanticizing place or treating identity as, universal.
So you can just guess.
You cannot guess at culture or sentiment. You must ground your interpretations in documented evidence. We're talking oral histories, ethnographic interviews, primary texts.
So if you were applying this to a business problem, you couldn't just say, our company culture is collaborative.
Exactly. You'd have to document the actual lived values and stories of the employees. Don't guess. You have to prove it.
That makes the structure of the inquiry much sharper. Okay, let's move to the second pillar, the human environment adaptation analysis.
Right. So this one focuses on the sheer power of environmental conditions. Climate, resources, geography, and how people innovate to respond to them.
We're moving from context to response. This analysis requires an environmental overview, then a really detailed look at adaptation strategies.
Like what kind of things?
We're talking about tools, housing design, and migration patterns, food procurement, and crucially, you have to discuss the sustainability or the resilience of those adaptations over time.
I think the guiding questions for this one are perfect for, transferability. They ask what environmental challenges actively shape life?
And more importantly,
What trade-offs support long-term sustainability? That concept of trade-offs is the hinge point. It prevents the other key pitfall here.
which is what?
Treating culture or systems as purely functional. You can't just say, oh, they built houses that way because it was cold, and then just stop.
Yeah.
You have to analyze the trade-offs.
Okay, so did that efficient housing choice require a ton of labor?
Exactly. Or did it deplete a certain resource faster than it could regenerate? The immediate functional benefit often has a hidden long-term impact that you have to surface.
Which naturally leads us to the third pillar, Alaska through maps and meaning. This is maybe the most universally applicable insight for anyone dealing with data.
I agree. The purpose here is simple, but it's profound. Maps, graphs, any visualization. They communicate so much more than location or data points.
They express priorities, meaning power.
They are arguments in graphic form.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. If you were approaching a problem using this framework, you'd have to use at least two different map types, like a physical map showing elevation versus a cultural map showing historical language territories. Then you have to explain what each map emphasizes.
And, more importantly, what stories or perspectives are embedded within those choices.
The guiding question forces that critical thinking. What stories do maps tell, and what stories do they leave out?
And the core pitfall here, which every learner should, tattoo on their brain,
Is avoiding the belief that maps are neutral.
they are never neutral. Whoever designed that quarterly report or drew that boundary line or created that system, they embedded their priorities in it. You have to be a fiercely critical consumer of the framework you're given.
Okay, so those three tasks, place and identity, adaptation, and maps and meaning, give us three extremely robust lenses to gather and organize all this complexity.
They help you see the full lay of the land.
But seeing the problem isn't solving it. Once we have the information organized, we need the action phase. And that's where the six-step problem-solving process comes in.
Exactly. And the source material is very clear about this from the start. It says complex situations, especially those with multiple perspectives, they do not have one correct answer.
So the goal isn't agreement.
No, the goal is to generate a clear reasoned choice that's supported by robust evidence. Strong reasoning matters so much more than just choosing the most popular solution.
Step one is the bedrock. Understand the situation. This just pure situational awareness.
That's it. Your action items are: describe what is happening, identify everyone involved, all the stakeholders, and crucially, note the constraints.
Time, geography, resources.
Existing systems, political limitations, you name it. The focus is on accuracy, not judgment.
Okay, so then step two is about complexity. Identify challenges. Now that you understand the situation, you just cast a wide net.
You brainstorm multiple challenges. This is where you surface that whole landscape of tension. Is the challenge logistical?
Is it cultural, economic, a problem of trust?
Exactly. And this is not the time to jump to a solution. It's just the time to map all the friction points.
Which brings us to step three, where the real rigor begins. Select the underlying problem. This is so easy to get wrong.
Oh, it is.
It's so tempting to just treat a symptom, like saying a lack of funds is the problem, when the real issue might be something deeper.
Like inequitable resource distribution within the existing governance structure. A totally different beast.
So how does this framework make sure we dig deep enough?
Justification. That's the key. You have to choose one central problem that is more than just a surface conflict. It has to be something that actively drives other challenges.
And is genuinely consequential if you ignore it.
Right. And then you have to build a powerful argument for why you chose that particular problem. Your explanation for the choice is actually more critical than the choice itself.
Because it forces you to prove you understand the root cause.
That's it.
Okay, so once we've rooted out the core issue, step four is action. Generate possible solutions.
And the emphasis here is on quantity and realism. You have to brainstorm multiple realistic solutions that acknowledge all those constraints we noted back in step one.
So no assuming perfect conditions or an unlimited budget.
Or magical political alignment. No, quantity and practicality matter here.
Now, step five is what you call the critical thinking core of the entire process, the quality control stage.
It is. You can generate 1,000 ideas, but they're worthless if you don't have a fair way to judge them.
Right, and this is where most real-world decisions just fall apart. People judge solutions based on what's convenient, not what's comprehensive. So step 5A is develop evaluation criteria.
And the framework insists these criteria have to reflect real-world limits and consequences. This is how you ground abstract ideas in cold, hard reality.
So instead of the typical gut reaction.
What's the cheapest?
Right. This framework demands you check that reaction against other friction points.
The source material provides powerful examples of criteria you have to use. For instance, instead of just cost, you have to consider affordability over time. Instead of just labor, you must define who does the work and for how long.
And impact on people. I like that it's not just who benefits, but explicitly who is harmed.
That's the key distinction. If you only use cost and ease of implementation as your criteria, you will always pick the short-term fix.
But by introducing criteria like fairness, how is the burden distributed, and long-term sustainability, you force yourself to confront the trade-offs.
Precisely. A solution might be cheap and fast, but if the burden of making it happen falls entirely on the group with the fewest resources, it fails the fairness criterion.
Okay, so then step 5B is to use these criteria to create a simple rubric.
Yeah, this can be a table or a checklist. It just defines what a strong, acceptable, and weak solution looks like for each one of your criteria. It keeps the comparison objective, not emotional.
And finally, 5C, you evaluate and choose. You pick the solution that best meets your criteria, and this is the most mature part of the instruction,
You have to explicitly acknowledge the trade-offs.
the downsides of your chosen solution. A good solution is reasonable, it's well justified, but it is not perfect. You have to own the compromises.
And that leads right into the final implementation step. Create an action plan using SMART goals.
This turns that well-justified choice into accountable steps.
Right. Every part of the plan has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to the underlying problem, and time-bound.
So we need to know exactly what's going to be done, what evidence will show progress, and whether it's realistic given all those constraints from step 1.
The focus is on progress, not guaranteed success. Because complexity guarantees there will be unforeseen problems down the road, it's all about realistic movement forward.
Which flows directly from the rigorous criteria you just applied in step 5.
So now that we have the full toolkit, the 3 lenses for inquiry and the 6 steps for solution testing, we need to talk about what excellence actually looks like.
How does this curriculum define mastery?
Right.
We look at the assessment rubric. It defines the difference between a basic, proficient understanding and true mastery, which the framework calls extending, or level 4.
Okay, so when you're assessing accuracy and representation, just being factually correct gets you to proficient.
But to reach extending,
You must be highly accurate, culturally respectful, and this is crucial, you have to demonstrate the ability to use and synthesize multiple perspectives in your analysis. You can't simplify. You must embrace the complexity of competing views.
and in terms of understanding and communication, it's a massive step up. The extending level requires deep understanding.
Which means you have to explain the complex relationships among land, culture, identity, and lifeways, and do it with nuance.
So it's not enough to just list the element.
No, you have to explain how these factors interact dynamically, how they pressure each other, where the greatest friction lies.
So the critical takeaway for you, the learner, is this. Mastery is not about data recall.
Not at all. Mastery is about explaining those relationships and leveraging multiple perspectives to show the trade-offs involved. If you can show how a historical adaptation strategy now influences current land use politics,
You've moved from just consuming knowledge to actually applying analysis.
that's it.
This whole deep dive has given us really a powerful dual framework. We have these robust lenses for organizing complex information.
And a systematic process for rigorously testing and implementing solutions.
The value isn't specific to geography at all. It's the practice of clear, organized, and evidence-supported reasoning when you're faced with just inherent complexity and uncertainty.
And if we bring this all back to that concept from the 3rd pillar, maps and binds, meaning we have a final provocative thought for you.
Right. Remember that maps and frameworks, they communicate meaning and priorities. They fundamentally shape what you see.
And what you ignore.
Which raises an important question. Since your initial framework determines your entire field of vision, consider how the map you currently use to approach a new field or a difficult project will inevitably shape the solutions you're even able to proceed.
If you begin with a map defined only by, say, short-term economic constraints, you might entirely miss viable cultural or sustainable resource solutions.
Or if you only look at the physical terrain of a business problem, you might ignore the critical factor of organizational identity and trust.
The power ultimately lies in choosing the right map and the right toolkit before you even take that first step.
We encourage you to take this structured thinking, the 3 ways to frame an inquiry, and the 6 steps to rigorously test a solution, and apply it.
Apply it directly to the most challenging area of study currently on your plate. You've got the toolkit, now go build.